Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Battle for Wesnoth Amateurs Cup. This is Game 3 of Round 3. We're almost through with the quarterfinals. We're moving on to the semifinals. And yeah, I know I haven't been many videos this week, but we're getting back into it. So, I am playing as the Northerners, led by an Orcish warrior, in Isalphalon Courtyard against AlexanderML as an Elvish druid leading the Rebels. Let's get to it. So, Rebels go for a scout, a merman, 2 archers, another scout, and then a woes. Meanwhile, up here I get a wolf rider. A pretty mixed recruitment overall. The only thing that I'm doubling up on Orcish archers and Orcish grunts because I think they're pretty much useful in almost all matchups. 1 whelp and 1 wolf rider as well, and I'm going to go grab my first village. So, moving out to grab villages, and the Elvish druid has moved up to the next recruitment area. Meanwhile, my Orcish warrior is going from village to village as he's moving up towards recruitment areas. So we've now spotted each other. We now know what we're fighting. Over here, I'm setting up on defensive terrain because it is still afternoon. Don't want to go in for an attack just yet. And I'm grabbing my first assassin recruit. I can't see this woes, by the way, because that woes is ambushing on a forest. So we've got double assassin. The reason I didn't recruit an assassin right off the bat is because if my enemy is undead, assassins are a total waste. So I saved a little bit of money, waited to confirm that who I was fighting before I started recruiting assassins. And against elves, assassins are really useful because they can poison, like, you know, elvish archers on forests or something and drive them off their terrain. Up here, we've got kind of a light forward defense, but I've got several units coming right behind them. So these Elvish Scout and 2 archers, while they can stand on the defense effectively, shouldn't be able to push against me, especially as it's coming on dusk. Meanwhile, over here, I only see a couple of Elvish units, so I'm thinking, well, maybe these 4 units can make a push over there. I do also see the Merman Hunter in the water, so I'm a little bit wanting to get out of my way. So we're going in for the attack against the Elvish Scout, doing quite well, actually. And then, all of a sudden, oh shit, I've been wozed. We did get the scout, though. So, Secret Agent Woes has shown up in the forest. They've given him a number and taken away his bows? Taken away his bows. We managed to poison the Merman Hunter to drive him back. We've got an archer moving around, so at this point I'm thinking, well, I might well lose this guy. But fortunately, he only took 1 punch. And now, the Woes is somewhat vulnerable. Using Woses against the Northerners is a big gamble because of those fire arrows. Especially at night, fire arrows do just a ton of damage versus Woses. Any faction with fire damage, to be honest, you have to use Woses really, really carefully. In this case, he was trying to get the Orcish Grunt. Even if he'd killed the Grunt, the Woes is probably dead. And I'm willing to trade a Grunt for a Woes, absolutely. However, I'm going to try not to give experience to that Grunt since he is, you know, nearly dead. This guy, however, Erradish here he shows promise. Down on this side, I'm kind of skeptically planning for an attack, but it's a little bit late for it, and I see another unit, so I'm like, maybe not. I say I'm not going to try not to give experience to that guy immediately before scoring a kill with him, of course, but Erradish is 1 kill away from killing that Woes. AlexanderML here is saying the game is pretty much decided. And it kind of is, and the reason is that this fight down here. Because moving the archer out there to try and kill the Orcish Grunt, as we're saying in the discussion up here, that was kind of a gamble, and it didn't quite pay off. He didn't manage to get the Grunt. On top of that, losing a scout, an archer, and then a Woes in rapid succession with, if I recall correctly, no kills. That puts him down significantly behind. You can see here he's spent 167 gold recruiting, and he's lost 55 gold worth of those recruits. That's about 1/3 of his total gold has been lost. He's been slightly unlucky, but not very. Over on this side, we do have another hidden Woes. We've got some several more units ready to hold against my force. I have moved up to poison this Elvish fighter. But over on this side, I'm running Rampant. He just does not have much left. You can see here the Elves have a total of 8 units remaining, and I am going full Northerner and overwhelming him with numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, plus whatever it is that I'm recruiting back there. So, he did get 2 punches in against that assassin, which was painful for me. But it's not looking great for the rebels at this point. They still have definitely a shot, but I've established income superiority and as well as unit superiority, so it's going to be a challenge. Now this, right up here, he launches this aggressive counterattack to kill off my assassin and try to reclaim this village. I would say this was unwise, mainly because he left this guy on open ground, and even during the daytime, I could probably concentrate the power to kill him and level up my Orcish Grunt. And giving me a level 2 like that is dangerous work. On top of that, he has gotten his leader poisoned. That's a secondary trouble, but it's worrisome because now I also have this guy who could theoretically run around here, lock his druid in place, and I could try to assassinate the druid. He moves his archer up to prevent that, though, or I don't think he actually did prevent that, but he tried. And meanwhile, we've got an aggressive push up on this side in an effort to assassinate my leader, but I think I've got enough units there that it's not a big concern. So as you can see, we've gotten this guy knocked right down, and we level up to an Orcish warrior. Meanwhile, this Elvish archer is under attack, but doing very well. I decided not to go for the druid because I didn't think I could concentrate the force to actually take him out. And up here, the enemy troops, they exist. They're doing all right, but they're gonna have some trouble because the only person they have here that's really dangerous is the woes, and I can handle the woes. All of their other units are quite badly damaged. I did give my my Orcish fighter up there, my Orcish Grunt, a little bit more experience that he didn't really need, considering he's about to be punched to death, but eh. He distracted 2 units in the process of dying. However, this woes here is about to get double archered, because I do have 2 archers here, and with their fire arrows, even during the daytime, they still do good damage to woses. So, taking a look at the situation, I have 12 units, 10 out of the 16 villages. I'm definitely on the upswing. At this point, my only real concern is preventing myself from accidentally losing, which is certainly something you can do at any time in a game of Wesnoth. You can absolutely fuck up and lose the game, even if you are in a dominant position. But the woes is going down. We get 2 more grunts just to make sure I don't fall victim to an unfortunate late assassination. And at this point, it's pretty much decided. This Elvish fighter is putting up a good contest, but not gonna make it. And my Wolf Rider over here is holding this village like a champion. Wolf Riders are actually pretty good at holding villages because unlike most other cavalry, they do get 50% defense in villages, and they have okay, albeit not exceptional HP. So you can, if you have one enemy unit attacking you in a village, you can absolutely hold that village with a Wolf Rider for a while. Over here, he's working to take out my my grunt in the water. Doesn't quite make it. And now I'm moving over to just to try and kill his leader and end things. So as you can see, I think this game is basically over. That early attack just gave me a very significant lead. And the heavy use of woses, as I said, heavy use of woses against the Northerners is very, very risky. Personally, in this matchup, I just wouldn't really recruit woses almost ever. Maybe one as an ambush, but they're really quite vulnerable to the Northerners. The thing to recruit against Northerners, I think, is a lot of Elvish archers, a lot of Elvish fighters, and just go that route. Don't use the woses all that much. In terms of stats, I was slightly lucky. I had plus 8% damage inflicted, so about 35, close to 40 more extra damage. I took almost exactly as much damage as anticipated, and kills fairly lopsided as is usual in Wesnoth. By the end, when it's a rout, you're pretty much just picking off units at will, and 1 advancement. So, let's go on to Game 2. We are playing in one of the bloodiest matchups in the game, which is the Undead versus the Northerners. I've talked about this before, but Undead and Northerners, I'm sorry, Loyalists. Undead versus the Loyalists. Undead versus the Loyalists, very, very bloody. Chaotic versus Lawful. Fire damage. The Loyalists have access to. I keep wanting to say the Northerners. They're not the Northerners. They're the Loyalists. Get it together. They have access to fire damage. They have access to magical attacks. The undead have access to cold and arcane attacks, and of course they have just high damage in general. So generally a lot of casualties in this matchup. For my early recruit, we've got a ghost, we got a bat, we got a ghoul, and then we got skeletons. For the loyalists are double recruited fencers, which I've always thought, I don't know about that one. I don't know that I like fencers all that much as a loyalist unit, but I know there are some players who really use them very heavily. He's also recruited 2 spearmen and a mage, plus a merman fighter. Now, against the undead, spearmen and merfolk are less useful on account of them having pierce damage, which many of the core undead units are highly resistant to. And this bat, up here, is just refusing to die. He takes a hit. Mr. Incredibat will not surrender, will not fall. Moving down here just to speculatively spit some ghost juice at a fencer. But right now, I'm not really in position to launch an attack tonight, so I'm not gonna focus too hard. I do have my first Dark Adept out, as well as several Skelemen over on this side. We are coming in to try and take out this Spearman, but I know it's kind of a reach, so I'm not gonna push it too hard. That said, this attack was probably a mistake, as you can see if you kind of look at the lay of things. We do have the Spearman damage, but my ghost is partially trapped by this fencer. We've got a mage very close, and mages are hell on ghosts. Plus, I'm just outnumbered. We've got a fencer, got a spearman, a mage, a bowman. It's a problem. Over on this side, everything's going fine. I've got 4 units lined up against 4 units. Nobody's going to be launching an attack over here anytime soon. I also have a Dark Adept and another Skeleton Archer coming in to reinforce. And I have a Dark Adept recruited over on this side, going over to try to help stabilize this, because I'm looking at it going, odds not great. See if we can pull the ghost out at least. I'm going to shift Mr. Incredibat over, because with his awesome power, he should be able to stop the enemy in their tracks. And I have done some damage to his leader, which is nice, but that skeleton is not in a good place. Fortunately, however, they have left an avenue of retreat for my Ghosty Goo, so he's just gonna make like a tree and leaf, and we're gonna try to hold the center with my ghoul here in the swamps. At this point, the Loyalists are in pretty good shape. If we pause real quick here on turn 8, we can see that we have to reset so that we can get the true statistics. I'll be right back. Okay, and we're back. Looking at the stats here, you can see I've lost 1 unit. I haven't killed anything. Overall, though, I've actually been very lucky. I haven't deserved to be this lucky, because realistically, looking at those numbers, I could easily have lost the ghost as well. But I've taken about 1/3 less damage than can be expected, and I've inflicted slightly more. So luck has definitely played a part. That said, my over-aggressive attack has still seen me driven back with loss. So, having some troubles. That said, I do still have 12 units, so in terms of units, we have about parity. And overall, I think my units are more useful. So I'm still feeling relatively confident as I maneuver. Getting my ghost out to the flank, a little bit more reinforcement in the center. The enemy's going back to fill up his unit roster. And now he's launching an attack to kill my Dark Adept over here. It is, of course, morning, so it's about time for him to be doing that. But this fencers do not have any retaliation against ranged attacks, so I was able to just kill that fencer outright, and as his units trickle in, I'm hoping that I'll be able to snipe out another 1 or 2. However, heavy infantry can be a problem. Heavy infantry are somewhat resistant, at least, to all of my attack types, except for cold. So I do have the chill wave blasts from Dark Adepts, if I can get them on him. But I've got, I don't know, I'm feeling okay about this fight. I'm willing to take it, but it could easily go wrong if they can manage to snipe out my Dark Adepts. Good old Mr. Incredibat holding the center. Oh god, there goes the skeleton. Yeah, heavy infantry are a fantastic skeleton countermeasure. They're very, very good at the anti-skeleton thing. Now, these guys could retreat, but instead I'm going to try and kill the enemy units insofar as I can. Which they are doing. Dark Adepts are just fantastic damage dealers, and I think overall I'm trading very evenly on this side. However, unfortunately, Mr. Incredibat does bite the dust there. I also lose a Dark Adept. That was lucky, though. That, the heavy infantry failing to hit my Dark Adept was, I wouldn't say critical, but fairly important. It is now nighttime. It is nighttime, and the wrath of the Dark Adepts is upon my enemy. Skeletons are moving in, and over here I now have this under control. I've inflicted enough casualties, done enough damage, that I feel good about it, and I also feel good about going on the offensive somewhat on the other side. Might be unwise, but there is a spearman that I feel like I might be able to snipe out. It's not going as well as I'd hoped, and there are 2 mages waiting for me, but we'll just kind of see how that develops. I have enough firepower over here now that I feel like I can maybe do this. That good old ghoul took a long time to kill. But the enemy leader is moving out, so it's time to retreat. That said, I have lost this fight over here, and it was always marginal at best. I would have had to get lucky to do anything, accomplish much. That said, all of these units are now over on this side fighting these guys, while my force over here really is cleaning up. I mean, there's a fencer, his heavy infantryman is dead. His merman fighter is halfway dead, and I should be able to just crush these guys before night ends and sweep on down, while his troops are all over on this side, including his swordsmen, pushing up. Managed to inflict some decent poison on everybody, and he's not going to get to level. I am 1 experience away from leveling that skeleton myself. There is a risk over here, though, and that risk is... nice work from Mr. Skeleman, and my Dark Adept runs for the hills. The risk here, of course, is that this bundle of units will manage to push up and assassinate my leader. But I haven't realized that just yet, I don't think, if I recall correctly. Unfortunately, it does look like my ghost will be dying here today. Rip, Mr. Ghosty. You were the best of us. Now, fortunately, well, unfortunately, I missed two shots of the Dark Adept right there, but fortunately, I do have time before this force can push up, and I do have unit recruitment ability, especially as I am stealing enemy villages to increase my own recruitment. Mr. Skeleman here is doing his part by delaying the enemy. Good job, Mr. Skeleman, and here comes AlexanderML's swordsman. I'm desperately racing my own units back to defend, but at this point, I have time. I have the recruitment potential, I'm making a lot of money, so I can just pump out units to stop the aggression in its tracks. The wicked aggression of the living man. I suppose I actually don't know that AlexanderML is a man, so it would be the wicked aggression of the living people in general. I guess he's a swordsman here, isn't he? But we've now got a solid line formed up. There's no way that AlexanderML is going to be able to break that, and my other units are flooding over. I have 3 Dark Adepts lined up, plus the 1 up in front. At this point, the Loyalist offensive has been defeated. He's not going to be able to punch through and kill me. No matter how badly my skeletons fail to hit anyone. Yep, that's 6 in a row, buddy. Good fucking job. We're coming in to try and blast a hole in his mage line. It's not working out. My Dark Adepts are not doing the thing that I need them to do. They've just missed 5 out of 6 shots with their 70% magic hit chance, so that makes me upset. But my little skeleton raiding party down here is stealing all their villages, and seeing that his attack is doomed, AlexanderML retreats, even as his merman fighter stabs to death my guy who was about to be a dark sorcerer, which upset me deep in my soul. Really did. Just made me sad. We're going to take revenge by trying to kill his merman, and by zombifying one of his mages, which should piss him off, I'm sure. And now the vengeful army of the undead is coming for AlexanderML, who is all alone, lost in the world, nowhere to turn, no one to go to, nowhere to hide from the power of good old Mr. Bones. And Mr. Bones here levels up into a Deathblade, which normally I wouldn't do, but, you know, the game is about to be over. Actually, in multiplayer, Deathblade levels are pretty solid. More damage output. And he can't quite get back to recruit with his 92 gold. Or no, that's me that has 92 gold. He didn't quite manage to get back to recruit before my Deathblade slew him. And that is the end of the game. So, looking at stats, you can see here that I was overall slightly lucky. I took slightly less damage than expected. Losses and kills, most of my overage here came from putting down that abortive assault, that attempt to snipe me. A couple of mages, a heavy infantry, a bowman, a spearman, I think, were all killed up there. And they hadn't drawn me out far enough. We were kind of playing similar tacks. I was light on this side and going heavy on this side, trying to push through and get at him. He was light on this side and then shifted everything over here to the right to try and push through me. And unfortunately, my push ended before his, so I was able to draw those troops back and get them into position. On top of which, the process of pushing opened up all of his villages so that I could take all his stuff. I'm not sure what the alternate strategy, how that would have worked out for him. It might have worked if he'd held back and shifted over to stop this advance in its tracks and then push up and had a lighter defense over on this side. He didn't need as many units as he deployed to stop my attack, and he may have been able to push me back over here if he had doubled down on it. I'm not sure. But in any case, it was a very good game, a very good match. But I move on to the semifinals with a 2-0 victory over AlexanderML, and soon we'll be seeing who the last player is who will be joining us in that bracket. So, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next video.